Okay, everybody, welcome back to part two of the series. This episode, we're going to be talking about variables. So, last video, we got a little bit into data types, and I went over integers, floats, doubles, characters, and strings. And today, we're going to actually go over how to make those variables and how variables and data types are put together. So, we are going to start off by just making a simple variable. To declare a variable, you're going to declare the data type. So if I want to be using an integer, I say int, and then you have to come up with a name for the variable. You can call this whatever you want. It does not matter at all. I could call this A. I could call it hello. I could call it pretty much anything. This one, I am going to call it spacing. Just kidding. I'm going to call it space. Okay, so that is just like the most basic part of variables. Like, you cannot get any more simple than that. It's just a data type, which is an integer, and then the name. Okay, so this right now is completely useless. It is like this yellow line right here means that it's not being used for anything. It's just there. So to make it actually useful, we're going to need to do a couple things just because of how processing actually works. So we're going to need to write a couple of functions to make this run. First one is going to be setup. This setup function, you have to call this. It's built into processing, so it's not something you have to make yourself. It's called at the very beginning, the very first frame of the program. So in here, this is where you would declare the size of the window. I'm going to make it 800 by 800. Okay, so an important thing to note about these are pixels, so it's going to be 800 pixels by 800 pixels. So when we're talking about pixels, it does not start at the bottom left-hand corner and go up, kind of like you'd see in a Cartesian plane, like you do in math. It actually starts up in the top left-hand, and it goes down. So if you see this here, I'm going to run this really quick. It is 800 pixels by 800 pixels. So I could change that, if I wanted to make this, 1200 by 800. See, it would be longer, okay? So just remember that one. Size is also a built-in function. And this is one you don't have to write yourself. Okay, the next one we need is the draw function. So I'm going to say void draw. I can type here. Okay, and then this is where we would choose a background color. So in processing, it uses the RGB color scale. So we're going to call the background function background. That's another built-in function. And then I just want to make this white, so I'm just going to put in 255. Keep in mind, you could put this as any color you want, as long as you know the combination of the colors. So let's say I want to make this red. I'd say 25500 because it's RGB if you break it down, red, green, blue. So that would be, as you guessed it, that would be red. I'm just going to make this white though, and that's just plain old 255. So now I want to do something with this variable. And I'm actually going to set this equal to 400, okay? And just a little reference, this variable is what I'm going to be using to determine the spacing of a circle I'm going to draw. So I'm going to call the function circle. And this is yet another built-in function of processing. And it accepts three values, an x, a y, and a radius, okay? So I'm going to make this space by space, and then I'm just going to make this radius of 15. Okay, so when we run this program, you can see that this right here is in the middle. So just to introduce what the point of variables is here, we could type in any number we wanted here. So I could say 12 and then 25. So, see, and then it's right there. It's at 12 and down 25. So The reason we have these variables is because it makes it extremely easy to just interchange these things. So we could say space, space, okay? So then we don't have to remember every time we wanted to draw a circle, we didn't have to just keep typing in those exact same numbers. We could just type in the variable name, and there we go. And keep in mind, we can make multiple of these. So we could say int space 1, set it equal to 200, or okay, and then we could say space 1 and space, and then bada bing bada boom, we got that right there. And there you go. That is a little bit of an introduction to variables and how they're used. See you in the next one.